How has Indian entrepreneurship changed over time?
That's a big question. I have to start now from 1800s if you want me to give you that answer. But paradoxically, I think Indian entrepreneurship was more entrepreneurial probably in the time when the British ruled India than it has been for the 50 years or so after independence. If you actually look at India now, I think you are really now beginning to see the first shoots of true entrepreneurship beginning to grow. What existed 50 or 70 or 80 years ago is slowly now beginning to come back in India. But there's been a 50-year period where I would say you didn't have entrepreneurs. You had, not by the typical definition of an entrepreneur, you had different types of entrepreneurs. You know.
So, what would you say are these key drivers that now enable this kind of entrepreneurship?
I think the biggest change comes in the marketplace. So, you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to have an environment that encourages entrepreneurship. To that extent, even today in India, I would say that true environment for entrepreneurship is not really present in at least one or two parts of the economy. It's very prevalent in the services side of the economy because the regulation out there is very, very different. When it comes to manufacturing or even agriculture, despite the opening up of the economy in 1991, it is not really an entrepreneurial playing field yet because there's no exit from business allowed. We have more controls on our manufacturing than most other people. A lot of industry is still licensed, so there's no exit from an employment. If there's a downturn in business, you cannot just lay off people or do that. So there are still a large number of issues that affect the manufacturing and the agricultural sector, which don't affect the services sector. And therefore, a country like India, 52% of GDP comes out of services. Why? Because every entrepreneur who looks at it says, I will go into services where the infrastructure, the environment for entrepreneurship is ripe. I will not go to manufacturing because it is just not ripe.
You just spoke about infrastructure and this challenge that it presents also in India. What is your look on the terms of infrastructure? We talk about the more general understanding of infrastructure in terms of manufacturing.
In terms of manufacturing, are you in a position where you can take your electricity supply for granted? Answer is in large parts of India, no. All right. Are you in a position where, as India gets integrated into the global economy, the ups and downs of the economy allow you to cut the size of your business to suit? The answer is no. All right. Can you exit your business? The answer is no. Bankruptcy in India is unheard of virtually. Okay. So when you look at environment and infrastructure for business, all right, for an entrepreneur, it's important that as I said, failure being important, it's also important that you can extract yourself from your failure and get going here. Here in manufacturing, at least you can't. In services, yes, much easier. I rent an office, I hire 10 people, I bring in 10 computers and I start. Tomorrow business goes away, I don't need the office rental, I can get rid of the computers and I can go somewhere else and that. And that's why you have seen a very skewed GDP growth of 52% services, 28% manufacturing and maybe 20% agriculture.
Avantha Group is still family owned. Do you believe that family owned companies have a comparative advantage over publicly traded companies?
Well, 2 of my companies are publicly traded and 2 more will be publicly traded. So I think that you have to find the right balance between ownership and public trading. I have nothing against public ownership, but I think that when public ownership gets very diffused, it is a problem for corporations. So I still believe that a solid block of shareholding in family businesses with enlightened business, all right, is very important. I think it's very important for family businesses once they list to start separating the ownership and management issues from each other. The management issues must become one of merit and competence. Ownership is a whole different business. Till you're not listed, it's different. The day you bring outside shareholding, outside capital into your business, you have to start making the distinction between what your role as an owner is versus who should really be managing the business.
Mr. Thapar, thank you very much for your time and for these insights.